On Friday, May 31st, 1889, residents of Johnstown, Pennsylvania, were going about their daily business, completely unaware that extreme danger was imminent. Over the course of several days leading up to the fated day, there had been intense periods of very heavy rainfall. All of this extreme weather proved too much for the South Fork Dam, located 14 miles upriver. The dam burst its bank, unleashing a gigantic mass of raging water on the unprepared population of Johnstown. Johnstown is a city in Cambria County, Pennsylvania, 56 miles east of Pittsburgh. The town was settled in 1770 and currently has a population of around 20,000. Johnstown has had many major floods in its history. The last major flood was in 1977. Johnstown's most famous flood was in 1889. "14 miles upriver from Johnstown stood the South Fork Dam. Built between 1838 and 1853 as part of a canal system to be used as a reservoir for the main line of public works. The dam was 72 feet high and 931 feet long. The dam frequently sprung leaks. In fact, it had been built on a floodplain, which had already been subject to frequent disasters. This edifice of earth became the largest earth dam in the United States and subsequently created the largest man-made lake of the period. As part of a canal system, it became obsolete due to the railroad expansion. In 1881, it was taken over by the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club. The canal system fell into disuse and maintenance on the dam was neglected. This neglect would prove to be deadly. On Friday, May 31st, 1889, the 30,000 residents of Johnstown, many of whom worked in the flourishing steel industry, were going about their daily lives, completely unaware that their lives were about to change forever. For days, the local area had been subject to heavy rainfall, and due to the neglect of the South Fork Dam, the rising water levels had caused the vital spillway to be clogged with debris, which workers were completely unable to remove. An engineer at the dam saw warning signs of an impending disaster and rode a horse to the nearest village, South Fork, to warn the residents to evacuate. However, the telegraph lines were down and warnings of the impending disaster did not reach Johnstown. At 3:10 p.m, the South Fork Dam collapsed, causing a roar so loud that it could be heard for miles. All of the water from the lake rushed forwards at up to 40 miles an hour, creating a wave 35 to 40 foot high, sweeping away everything in its path. People caught in the path of the rushing floodwater were crushed as the homes and other structures were swept away. 33 train engines from the local railway were pulled into the raging waters, creating more hazards. Some of the Johnstown residents were able to make it to the top floors of the few tall buildings in the town. However, whirlpools brought down many of these taller buildings. A large bridge downstream from the town caught much of the debris, and then proceeded to catch fire. Some people who had survived by floating on top of debris were then burned to death in the fire. Reportedly, one baby survived on the floor of a house as it floated 75 miles downstream from Johnstown. One of the American Cross's first major relief efforts took place in the aftermath of the Johnstown flood. It took 5 years to rebuild Johnstown. The 1889 flood claimed 2,209 lives. Bodies were found as far away as Cincinnati and as late as 1911. 1,600 homes were destroyed. In the aftermath of the disaster, the clean-up began. The main local employer, Cambria Iron and Steel, managed to reopen within 18 months despite receiving heavy damage. Workers built a temporary wooden bridge. The railroad managed to restore a service to Pittsburgh. Donations were received from all over the world, and the town would eventually get back on its feet. In the years that followed, people looked for someone to blame. At court, South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club, who maintained the dam and also modified the dam, won the case, but nevertheless aided in the recovery efforts. Sadly, flooding was still a concern for Johnstown, which suffered more major flooding in 1894, 1907, 1924, 1936 and 1977, the biggest of which was the 1936 flood that reached Pittsburgh. Following this, engineers dredged the river within the city and built massive concrete walls, creating a channel nearly 20 feet deep. Although surviving a hurricane in 1972, in the night of July 19, 1977, a torrential thunderstorm dropped 11 inches of rain in 8 hours. By dawn, the city was underwater, that reached 8 feet deep in places. 78 people died, and $200 million damage was inflicted. Population in the town in the decade since has been affected, but Johnstown still survives. But who knows what the future holds for the town.